So welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us here today. My name is Shannon McNeil. I'm a business planning advisor here at the Cape Breton Partnership, and will be your host on behalf of Carla Arsenault, the President and CEO of the Cape Breton Partnership. Before we get started, we're going to have Jeremy, our communications coordinator, describe some of the functions of this platform. Jeremy, if you want to explain that.
Thank you very much, Shannon. Welcome, everyone. So we're using the Zoom platform for this webinar again today. For those of you who are not familiar, if you look to the bottom of the screen, you'll see a few options down there, including Q&A and chat. Those are going to be the two most used tools during today's webinar. If you have any questions during the presentations as they go on, please type in your questions there. We will try to answer as we go. We're also going to have an opportunity that if there are any questions that could not be answered, we will be answering them at a later time. We'll get a hold of you and we'll make sure that we find that information out. If you have any technical issues or questions, please type it into the chat. That'll go to us and we will fix whatever we can. And I will leave my email in the chat as well in case you need to get a hold of me and you're having any troubles. In the meantime, I would also like to let you know that we have a poll coming at the end of the webinar that we'd like you to fill out, and hopefully we can continue to improve our webinar series as we go. If you have any questions, please let us know, and Shannon, please take it away.
Thanks, Jeremy. So the impact of COVID-19 around the world has been unprecedented. As Cape Breton Unama'i's private sector economic development organization, our main priority continues to be the health and wellness of our employees, our clients, and our community. Our hope is that Cape Bretoners are able to take the necessary precautions to stay healthy and safe at this time. We are working with our partners at all levels of government to make sure your concerns are being addressed and doing what we can to ensure the flow of communication remains open. One of our primary purposes at the Cape Breton Partnership is to connect people from any industry to supports, information, and resources they need to become successful. Over the last few weeks, our team has been continuously reaching out to businesses and investors to understand the current reality and most pressing concerns of businesses to determine what would be most helpful. Based on this feedback, we are hosting this webinar series to provide you with a host of different topics to help address important concerns for Cape Breton businesses. We also have a host of resources available on our website, capebretonpartnership.com, which we update multiple times daily as information and updates from federal, First Nations, provincial, and municipal governments become available. We also provide links to resources from other entities, such as the Chamber of Commerce, for example. These webinars always go better with lots of questions, so please use the Q&A function as Jeremy described to let us know if there are future topics you'd like to see covered. We will be sharing a recording of this webinar and slide deck on our website through our social channels later today or later this week in order to benefit the most businesses possible. This webinar is a panel discussion with a few individuals with experience within the e-commerce industry. It is our honor to host these individuals and learn from their expertise. So after the presentations, I will start the questions off and then open the floor to the Q&A. Feel free to put in your questions during the presentation. We may not get to all of them, but we will work to include any additional information on our website after the webinar if some of the questions cannot be answered immediately due to time constraints. So first to the stage is Amanda Gilmore. She is a customer success representative with Shopify, and she's based out of Toronto. And Amanda, thanks for being here today, and you can take it over.
All right, thank you everyone for having me, and thank you guys for tuning in on this webinar. Like Shannon said there, I'm a Shopify customer success representative. And I'm just going to give you guys a bit of a rundown of what Shopify is and how you can benefit from using the platform. So who are we? We're an e-commerce software for startups to enterprise level businesses. So if this means that you're selling just handmade goods, or if you're have a whole production line, we would be a platform suitable for your business. We're secure and reliable, meaning we have a secure checkout that is PCI compliant. It's a subscription service where you pay month by month. You can also choose to pay yearly, every 2 or 3 years, depending on your preference. It's a sales channel hub so that you can sell not only on your website, but you can also sell on Facebook and Instagram, Amazon, etc. We'll touch base on this later on to the presentation as well. We also offer a point of sales system for any of you that might have a brick and mortar store. So that's something to just keep in mind. So what do we offer? So we have 3 core plans: basic Shopify, Shopify, and advanced Shopify. The more you pay, the more you get, but on all of these plans, you get all of these features listed below. You can add however many products you like. You can have a flash sale or just have your regular orders coming in. It's unlimited bandwidth and online storage. We offer brick and mortar POS solutions, as I mentioned. This can also be used on your iPhone or Android, which you can just bring to your Sunday's farmers market and take payments and also keep track of your inventory. You can build your own online store and give your storefront a personality. You don't have to know any code to bring like a website to life, but there's more so of a drag and drop feature almost where you can add images, slideshows, testimonials, or whatever you'd like to have on your website. Each order comes in with fraud analysis, making sure that you're not fulfilling any orders that might end up in a chargeback. So you'll see if it's a high or medium risk, just an order risk. You don't pay any extra fees per order, so you have your monthly subscription rate, and then you don't pay anything additional based on the orders. And that also being said, that it comes with unlimited orders, so you can make 5 orders per month, or you can do thousands and thousands. There's also the opportunity to create manual orders. So if you have someone that you need to create it for, this can be done through your admin panel. You can offer discount codes, and you can offer gift cards to customers if that's something that you would like. If you have staff members, they can have their own login so that they don't log in as you and have access to all the private billing information, for example. You also get an overview dashboard where you can see analytics on how your store is doing currently. It also comes with finance reports, which can be used by when you need to do your taxes, which is never fun, but has to be done. You also have access to our 24/7 support team, and you don't even have to be on Shopify and use Shopify as a platform before you call in. So you can just call in and get information if that's what you'd prefer as well. Now, having a business, we obviously need to take payments somehow. We do have our own payment gateway called Shopify Payments, which can be used to accept major credit and debit cards along with accelerated checkouts such as Apple Pay and Google Pay. A big plus to use Shopify Payments is that you'll only pay the credit card rate, which goes as low as it starts at 2.9% plus 30 cents on the basic plan here in Canada. And you don't pay any transaction fee whatsoever whenever you do have Shopify Payments. Another plus with using Shopify Payments is that you can always contact us if you need any help with payouts or refunds, etc., just because it's hosted by us, so we're able to help you troubleshoot anything that has to do with the payment gateway. Another thing that Shopify Payments offers that's quite new, came out end of last year, is that you can now sell in multiple currencies. So you can sell in US dollars, Canadian dollars, British pounds, Swedish krona, whatever you feel like, and you'll still be able to get paid out in Canadian dollars into your Canadian bank account. That just helps you to kind of be more attractive to other businesses outside of Canada. You can also connect PayPal and Amazon Pay if you wish. So these would be like secondary payments, payment gateways. There's also other third-party gateways such as Authorized.net and eMerchant Broker. They also take like major credit and debit cards. You do need to have an account with them, but they're already integrated into Shopify. So all you have to do is pop in your merchant ID and key that you have with them in order to start taking payments. The main difference there between Shopify payments and Authorized.net, for example, is that all the payments would go through them. So they would be the ones that you would contact if you're having any issues with payouts or refunds, etc. Like I mentioned in the beginning, our checkout is PCI compliant, so it's secure and safe for you and your customers. And this is no matter what payment provider you use. So if it's Shopify Payments, PayPal, or a third-party gateway that you work with, then it will always be PCI compliant. Shopify shipping. Shopify shipping comes free with your plan as you're in Canada, so it's included into your subscription. And Shopify shipping is two things. So the first thing is that the system can automatically calculate how much it will cost for you to send a package to me based on your location, my location, the weight of the order, along with the package you're sending it in. These rates are then being displayed in the checkout for your customers to choose from. So they can choose a faster delivery time and pay more, or they can choose the cheaper one and having to wait a little bit longer, but then you have the option to purchase that same label that the customer chose to buy and pay for in the admin, which brings me to the second thing that Shopify shipping is. Instead of having to go to the post office, stand in line 6 feet apart, you can now purchase the shipping labels straight from your Shopify admin, print them, and then just pop them on the package and either schedule a pickup with the carrier if they offer that in your area, or just drop them off at the post office. This obviously cuts out a lot of time having to stand in line at the post office, which is always something you have to do when you go over there. And it also eliminates that gap of how much it actually costs to ship something to your customers, as it would show more of an accurate rate than just an estimate. And like I said, Shopify shipping is included in your plan, and the rates or the labels that you do purchase through the admin is discounted to a certain percentage through Shopify. And if you're on the basic plan, you'll still have a good discount, but again, the more you pay each month, the better that discount will be. Sales channels. So in Shopify, we believe that you don't only have to sell on your online store, so your storefront. We believe that selling on multiple platforms at once is key. So therefore, we've created multiple sales channels for you to sell through. So your online store is your regular website that your customers would go through. You can also sell on Facebook Shop. So you would sync over all your products and have a shop tab on your Facebook page, and your customers will be able to check out straight from there. Instagram, you can tag your post and stories on Instagram, and once your customers click on that tag, they tap a link to view and buy a product directly in your online store. So they don't have to first be directed to your online store and search up the product, but that will go right away. We also have Amazon, where you can link up the products that you've already added on Amazon with what's in your Shopify admin, and orders placed on Amazon will be synced over to Shopify so that you can have a clear view in the same spot, in just one spot. eBay works similar. Again, you can connect it with the listings that you already have, and anything posted there will be brought into one hub, which here would be Shopify. The buy button is something you can use if you already have a business landing page, but maybe you can't sell on it. So you can create these buttons of your products and then paste them on your landing page. From there, your customers can buy them directly off this third-party website. So you can paste them on a WordPress site, a GoDaddy site, whatever. So it just gives you the opportunity to sell on different third-party sites if you choose not to have an online store. Now, I know that is a lot of information, and I hope that you remember some of it. So where do we go from here? Obviously, we don't know how long today's reality is going to be what it is. We have a few things that we offer right now. So we are doing a 90-day trial, meaning that you can sign up at shopify.com and not having to pay your subscription fee for 3 months. That gives you the opportunity to kind of get off the ground and kind of get a feel for what the platform is. Again, there's never any commitment when you first sign up for a trial. You don't have to add a credit card or anything, so you can kind of just sign up and play around if that's what you like. And we also offer some webinars, which are all free to attend. You don't have to have a Shopify store to attend them. The website to go there would be shopifycompass.com/live webinars. It's in my slide there. We also have a Shopify community, so kind of like a forum website where you can ask questions and kind of get help and guidance in where you're at right now. And obviously, we have our amazing 24/7 support, which you can contact at any time, just going to our help center, which is help.shopify.com. And if you're interested in seeing our statement and what we're doing with COVID-19 and the current situation, you can pop over to shopify.ca/COVID-19. That will also update as we go on and just add on more that we'll offer throughout the time. And again, if you do have any questions, feel free to contact our 24/7 support team. And like I said, you don't have to have a store to be able to call in, but you can kind of just call in and chat it if you do have any questions whatsoever. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you again, Amanda. A lot of great and very relevant information there. So thank you very much for your time today. Next up, we have AG Research, which is a Sydney-based firm, and that is Glenn Morant and Tanya Heading. Glenn is a sales and marketing strategist, and Tanya is a programmer and developer with the firm AG Research. So you guys can take it away.
Thanks, Shannon. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and hopefully you get some good information out of this session. So I look after mainly the sales and marketing side of things here at AG Research, and Tanya is one of our key programmers and developers. So if there's any technical questions, I'll probably hand them off to her. Any marketing questions, I can probably field myself. So what I did is I put together a comparison of products like Shopify, like Amanda just spoke about. Those fall into the category of cloud-hosted e-commerce options. And you've probably seen a few of them on television, perhaps. You'll see Muggsy Bogues doing ads for GoDaddy. You'll see some pretty splashy television advertising around Squarespace, Shopify, Wix, Volution, and so on. These are all great options. For small businesses, you want to get up and running quickly with e-commerce. You could do it anytime, within as little as an hour, maybe a few hours. You could go from, starting point to having your store up and running. Very inexpensive, as Amanda just mentioned as well, because you're paying month to month. So there's no large upfront capital expenditure required, no big investment to get up and running with a cloud hosted package. You are locked in though, typically, and that's one thing that I do have to point out. One of the key differences between a cloud hosted e-commerce solution and a self-hosted e-commerce solution is that with the cloud hosting, it's very difficult to switch between platforms. So if you open up a store on Squarespace and you're not happy with it, it's very difficult to shift over to another provider like Shopify. Self-hosting, on the other hand, is a bit different from that. With self-hosting, you have a lot of freedom because you're doing this mainly by your own rules. It does require some technical skill. Some people can manage it themselves if you're somewhat technically savvy. If not, you'll have to hire a web designer, like Tanya. There is a higher upfront cost, obviously, if you're going to hire a web designer. You're not going to get that month-to-month payment. But on the plus side, you're not going to have a monthly subscription either. So it does even out in the long run and actually becomes advantageous to run a self-hosted e-commerce platform if you're looking at this long-term. And there's also pretty good SEO potential, meaning that you will rank a little better with a self-hosted than with a cloud-hosted in terms of Google search. It's not a guarantee, but the potential is there to do that. So if we look at the pros of cloud hosting, no design experience required. Pretty much anybody can do this. You can be set up and running very quickly. As Amanda mentioned before with Shopify, there's all those great marketing integrations. So you can synchronize your Shopify store or your Squarespace store or GoDaddy store with eBay, with Google, with Facebook. And it's a very relatively low cost launch. The cons of doing that, the downsides, are that you really can't tweak it. You could try to tweak and customize your store on these cloud-hosted packages, but chances are, when you try to dabble with that back-end code, you're going to break your store. So they're really not that customizable. You get what you get. And as I mentioned before, they're not transferable. The support between the different companies is inconsistent. I've had personal experience with Shopify, and it is top-notch. They are really good on the customer service side. Other companies are really not that good on the customer service side. Volution is one that I've also dealt with, and their customer service was not good. The SEO score issue, again, you can get around that if you're really attentive to detail. But you need some coaching. And unfortunately, with these cloud-hosted solutions, there's no local person that you can rely on to walk you through those steps. So it would be difficult. And then you also have the ongoing costs, your monthly subscription fee, which, over a year, 2 years, 5 years, it's going to add up. So a comparison of the cloud-hosted platforms, Shopify, with the star there on the left, is definitely my #1 pick, if you asked for my opinion. And if you look at rankings or ratings across the board, if you read reviews and you go out and you do your own research and your own Googling about these different cloud-hosted platforms, you'll see that Shopify is generally the highest ranked. They've got the highest level of customer satisfaction, especially when you compare them to Volution or GoDaddy. They don't nearly have the same level of customer satisfaction. So to sort of sum up, Amanda already covered all the bases with Shopify. One thing that she didn't mention was annually, from my experience, it's good to have a budget in mind. What's that first year going to cost, or how much should you, be willing to work with for that 1 year period? And I think a safe number there is around that $1,000 mark just to get up and running in that first year. And that's going to cover the things like, getting a customized theme for your Shopify store, because you don't want your store to look like everybody else's store. You want it to have some personality. And the theming does cost. There are those payment gateway fees and transaction fees. And then if you're going to be synchronizing your store across multiple channels, there will be some fees there as well. So just be prepared for that first year of budget requirements. So on to self-hosting now that we've talked a bit about cloud hosting. With self-hosting, you really own this e-commerce platform. This is yours. You can transfer this between different platforms if you wish. You've got complete and total control and ownership. You're not going to break the back end if you try to make it look a little bit different from somebody else, at least if you know what you're doing. You're not going to break the back end. The coding is all available. It's open source coding for the most part. And one of the reasons that you do have this potentially higher SEO value is because people that typically do the self-hosting, they're going to dive into it a little bit more. They're going to understand why things rank higher when you do a Google search. And just from having that understanding, you're probably going to implement some of those changes to really try and get the ranking that you want, because organic SEO is crucial. You can't constantly feed the advertising machine to get the clicks. You need to have organic hits. The ongoing cost is quite low. You've got some upfront costs, but month over month, you may not have any costs at all other than your payment gateway costs. So if you're using Stripe or Square or PayPal, you will have obviously some payment gateway costs, as you would with any credit card provider. The downsides, as I mentioned before, you probably need a web designer unless you're very technically capable on your own. Longer time to launch. You're not going to pull this off in an afternoon. Getting a web store up and running with a self-hosted solution would take days to, I would say at the outside, a couple of weeks, but safely, it can be done within a week. And that all depends on the number of products that you have and the nature of those products. If it's a limited product, you could probably, get up and running within a day or two, but certainly not within a couple of hours like you could with a cloud hosted package. And again, another downfall, of course, is those higher upfront costs. So a comparison of the self-hosted platforms. WooCommerce is definitely number one. I don't think you would find any website that reviews self-hosted platforms that wouldn't rank WooCommerce number one. They're just that strong. They have the fastest setup. They have the highest potential SEO value. Next to impossible to find a bad review on them. Some of the other companies that are also really good to work with, Magento is good. It's open source. Now, Magento was recently bought by Adobe, and there's two variations there. There's still what they call Magento Community, which is the free open source version. But if you want to use the all bells and whistles Magento version from Adobe, that's going to cost you, I think, about $2,000 just to have the rights to use it. That doesn't include anything. That's just saying, okay, I own this, now what do I do? So WooCommerce being a free platform is definitely the way to go. Now, normally when you get a self-hosting plan, doesn't matter who the provider is, and there's hundreds of self-hosting providers out there, they typically start off with a one-year package at around $99. And for the most part, WooCommerce is going to be a free service that they offer for that. So again, if you're not hiring a web designer, you're doing it yourself and you're technically capable, $99 can really get you up and running for the first year with some hard work. So why did I pick WooCommerce? Well, it's got most of the features that Shopify offers. You may have to acquire some third-party plugins to achieve it, but for the most part, it will do everything that Shopify will do. The back end is very flexible and very user-friendly. It's got an intuitive interface, so anybody that's been surfing the web for a couple of years should have no problem using the WooCommerce back end. It's very well supported too. They've got a huge community of support. So unfortunately, they don't have a 24/7 toll-free number that you can call, which is one of the strengths of Shopify. So if you do have an issue with WooCommerce, you're going to have to go to this large community and go into one of their community forums and pose your question and then wait for an answer. That is really the benefit, though, of working with someone like Tanya or myself, that we have the experience, with dealing with these, self-hosted packages. So we're the people that you would call. So, if we were the designers that set up this for you, at least we could do a face-to-face and, help you solve your problem quickly, which, in my opinion, is better than a toll-free number. Of course, the costs, again, are quite low for monthly ongoing, but a little bit higher for the startup. If you compare my two sort of gold star winners there, the Shopify and the cloud hosting and the WooCommerce on the self-hosting, you know what, they're really on an equal footing. I don't think I would ever tell anybody not to go with one or the other without doing a really deep discovery session with them, because they both have some great strengths. Shopify is great for the person that wants to get up and running quickly. They want to have a small upfront investment. They're not technically savvy. Those are all great things for Shopify, and they've got all the features built in. I mean, you don't have to go looking for payment or shipping features. WooCommerce, on the other hand, you've got all that freedom that it comes with in terms of being able to do whatever you want, switch between different providers. You'll be working with someone like myself, having that face-to-face support. You really get exactly what you want. Little higher cost up front, but that'll pay back in the long run because you won't have those ongoing monthly costs. So again, they both have their strengths. If anybody does have any questions about, why they would go with one or the other, by all means, you can reach out to me and explain your situation, and I'll definitely guide you in the right direction. And I think that's it. Oh, I should talk about multi-channel a little bit. Doesn't matter which one you go with, whether it's Shopify, whether it's WooCommerce, both of them are equally powerful at synchronizing across multiple channels. So if you want to open up a Facebook shop, a Google merchant account, eBay, Amazon, you can always port your product out and synchronize. Doesn't matter which platform you go with. And that's it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Glenn and Tanya. A lot of great content there. Thank you again for volunteering your time today. A lot of good insights we can all learn from. So finally, our third and final panelist is Harpreet Singh. He's the former senior business manager with Amazon, who has recently actually relocated to Cape Breton, very recently. So we're lucky to have somebody with his experience and expertise join us here today. So Harpreet, please take it away.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today, and I'm pleased to share my insights into what's going on in the e-commerce space. So the agenda for today is, I think, three things I will talk about broadly. Where is the e-commerce in terms of globally and the regional setup, and what's my learning with the Amazon story. I worked there for last 7 years, from 2013 to 2020, and how anyone can sell on Amazon. So let's start with e-commerce, and I'll give you a bit of insight into what's going around the world. And if you look at the worldwide numbers, you would see that it's roughly $3,000 billion estimated by 2024, and it is growing at a compounded annual growth rate of 9%. So that's that's the pretty much a very solid growth for e-commerce across in a global space. And this chart also highlights what are the product categories that do well on e-commerce. So if you can see, the fashion and the electronic media are the two categories which are doing well across and continue to do across in the future forecast as well. Moving on to the next slide. Okay. So this slide is essentially a breakdown of what's happening in the different regions of the world. So if you look at Europe, US, China, and rest of the world, I see that there is strong growth that is coming in US. That's that's top growth. That's where this 10.4% compared to China, which is already at which will be at 8.6%. So that gives you a flavor of where the growth is happening. Overall, the average was 9%, and you can see that US growth would be higher than what the average was. Okay. moving to the next slide, which is essentially defining what are the things that are driving this growth globally or in the regions as well. So smartphone penetration is certainly driving this up. Mobile commerce is one of the great reasons. Personalization, I think, is again one sphere where every e-commerce company is kind of working out. For example, Amanda gave the example that on Shopify you can pay in different currencies, and you can still get paid in Canadian dollars. And the team which I joined, and when I moved to Seattle in US, we were working on shipping from Amazon.com to 190 countries, and we were looking at how do we offer the right kind of language, the right kind of product description, the right kind of payment methods. So we worked on all of those aspects, and it doesn't stop there, but also goes on to what was your recent purchase history. How do we bring products that are similar to those products, or we want to reorder? So that's where the personalization space works. And the simple checkout that you can quickly add, and in a couple of steps you can be done with the shopping. And payment gateways also is a huge part where world in most of part of the world, digital currency is catching up, and e-wallets is another big thing that's happening in the payment space that will go a long way. Loyalty and membership like Shopify membership, or loyalty like Amazon Prime membership. So that's another piece which is driving this. Delivery optimization, like every e-commerce company is trying to make sure that they get to you deliver faster. Like 2 years ago, there was Amazon Prime which delivered in 2 days, but now in some part of the US, you can get delivery in hours. So that's where the efficiencies are being brought into. And also one small space, not a very big space as of now, but a voice e-commerce which uses the speakers like Alexa and Google Home. That's where also not for the product exploration side, but from the reordering perspective, it works very well. So now let me get on to what's the Amazon story. So what has been the growth driver for Amazon? So if you look at, if I take you back in time, I show you this slide which says, this is a drawing which Jeff Bezos drew like 20 years ago, and essentially this is his growth engine flywheel, wherein he's saying, it's the inputs are the sellers, selection, customer experience, which impact to lower the prices or the costs, and then improve this customer experience. And the output is the strong growth. So this is what he, envisioned years back, and we can see that it's work in progress, or it's doing very well. So I think what are the key elements for Amazon's success? One was a very strong leadership team. They are very focused on customers. They are speed driven, like they want to decide whether something is working or not, and the focus on long term. And the chart on the picture on the right hand side, if you see that Amazon did not make much profits till the time, like till let's say around 2010, and that's where I think 2010 onwards they start, or 2013 onwards they started AWS. It started putting in more money into the cash flows and net profit. So that's where it took off. So that's the kind of focus from the strong leadership team, which says that if you focus on a long term, you will reap profits. Okay, so I'll quickly run through the for some of the facts that are very unique. So they have Amazon Prime has 100 million plus members, which represents roughly 60% of the US shoppers. And most of the average age of the Amazon Prime users is between 18 to 55 is the maximum lion's share. And if I look at the spend between Prime and non-Prime member, it's just double. And also like events like Prime Day, which started in 2015, have become a runaway success with numbers doubling year over year. So number of visitors, you have 200 million plus visitors on the site, 12 million plus products sold on the website, 1 million plus sellers, and then sales contribution of 3P sellers is 50%, which is staggering. Okay, and they have fulfillment space, which is 100 million plus square feet across US. So this slide gives you insight into Amazon has gained a lot of shares with a lot of good work, and it's in the e-commerce space. It's clearly #1 retailer in US. And if this was a survey recently done by Feedvisor, and this shows what kind of products you can sell on Amazon, what kind of things that sell, like electronics, #1 category, clothing, shoes, jewelry, home, kitchen, beauty, and personal care. So this is what customers prefer to buy on Amazon. Moving on to the third part of the presentation, where how you can sell on Amazon. So giving you a very high level broad view. So you can sell to either you're a manufacturer, you can be a vendor, and then Amazon will buy stuff from you and sell it to the customer. And then you can be a third-party seller, where you can be an individual seller who fulfills or who ships the products by himself or herself to the customer directly, and you can use the Amazon FBA, which is a Fulfilled by Amazon program. I will talk mostly about how you can start. So registering is pretty easy. As an individual seller, you pay 99 cents per item sold, and for FBA you pay 39 bucks. So benefits of being a professional seller: you can sell your products across North America, and there are some cool bulk listing tools, and you can customize your shipping rates. So those are the top key benefits. So what are the FBA benefits? So Amazon Prime ability means that your products get highlighted higher in the search ranking. So you have outsourced your fulfillment to Amazon, which means you don't have to take care of a lot of stuff at your end. Packaging and everything is done by them. So Amazon holds inventory, no warehouse required. And then if I look at the merchant fulfilled, there are also benefit. The fees is lower, is easiest to start, and you are able to personalize the packaging for the customer. Moving on to the last bit, wherein how can one be a successful seller on Amazon? Couple of things. So optimize product details for search and focus on getting the selection right. So optimizing the product details is the key, because when customer comes, they use a lot of search words for getting a product. So let's say, for example, if if a customer is looking for cameras, so let's say Canon camera, so that's where your description of the product should be top notch, wherein you get the higher listing. Second bit is that pricing. You cannot go wrong with the pricing. You need to keep a watch on how your competitor is pricing the product, so you would not get a ranking. Then you have to be very careful about your inventory performance. For example, if you have forecasted that you will say sell 10 units a week, but if you have sold already 10 units in 3 days, you might need to refill the inventory faster. So these are the very high level things which I would say would help you win the BUYBOX. And with this, I would end by saying that if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, and thank you for listening to this webinar, and thanks a lot.
Well, thank you, Harpreet. Very good insights there. Thank you again for volunteering your time today. It's very appreciated. So that actually brings us to the final section, the Q&A. And as a reminder, if you do have questions, you can enter those into the Q&A section and not the chat section at the bottom of your Zoom panel. So I guess the idea is to have the panelists, the panelists to have access to the questions. So if you do have questions that you maybe would like to answer live, you can certainly do so. The attendees are not able to read the question, so if you could read the question first before you answer, that would be ideal and very useful.
Perfect. I guess I'll just start with one here. I'll take the floor. So just from Tyler asking, does Shopify Payments also have I'm from Sweden and sometimes I have issues pronouncing certain words. So compatibility, we'll go with that, with Square or other in-person device solutions. So we do have card readers that work with Shopify Payments. And if you go to hardware.shopify.ca, you'll see all of them there. And there's one for $9 and there's one for $99. Both of them are swipe and they plug into your AUX or your Lightning insert on an iPhone or an iPad. I will quickly as well answer Denise's question there about the label purchasing. In the hardware store, you can also purchase the label printer if you do want it. You can also just print it on standard paper and just cut it out and put it on the package. You don't have to be having an invest in like a Dymo printer, which is a little bit more expensive, that actually prints out the actual sticky shipping label ones that you get at the post office, but just on regular paper works as well.
Okay, thank you. I do have one specifically for Harpreet here. If I can actually read it if you like. Harpreet, prior to this current pandemic situation, how much had Amazon and other online platforms done to facilitate or encourage local shopping or local deliveries from smaller SMEs, augmented by online shopping, as opposed to facilitating global sales and competition, or in Amazon's case, competing directly with local small SMEs for retail sales? How has that changed, or how do you believe it will change in the future? Oh, you're muted, sorry, Harpreet.
So what I would say, how I would answer this question is that maybe as I've just moved here and after after that, the pandemic started. So I don't know how Amazon is dealing in last 3 months with this. But what I know is that from a previous experience, I worked in Amazon India, is that Amazon created a Prime Now platform there, wherein local shop groceries and local retailers were enrolled and they could list all of their inventories there and Amazon would do the delivery. So I think that is where, this question leads, that program which was run in India, which was run as a test pilot, that might needs to get extended to other parts of the world as well, given the current situation we are in.
Perfect, thank you. And just as an administrative function aside, we do have a short evaluation survey, and Jeremy, I believe, is going to make it on your screen right now. And so please fill this out, as it will help us improve our sessions and help us to determine the next future topics that we can cover. Okay. So would anybody else like to tackle any of these questions?
I can snag another one there that was specifically about Shopify. So Amanda, can one manage several stores, so different businesses, using one dashboard, also known as one Shopify account? So for every Shopify account and every plan comes one store. If you do have, so whenever you log into Shopify, you have your username, your email, and your password. If you have multiple stores on Shopify, so with the same email and password, it's very easy to flip between the different stores that you manage, but there's only one store per Shopify account, so to say.
Okay. We do have one that came through online. Maybe I'm not sure who would be the best to answer this, so I'm just going to read it verbatim. How do we justify increasing online sales when that increase is going out within the community, whether that is going out into the community for driveway drops or pickups or additional trips to the post office when Dr. Strang, who has specifically asked us not to travel outside unless necessary, I suppose.
I'll field that one if no one else wants to dive in there. If you're receiving packages, and most of us are shopping online now, and at least every day or every week we're getting something by post, and it's coming straight to our doorstep. If we have a web store that we're running either out of our home or a small business, in most cases, whether it be FedEx, Purolator, you have the option of having them come to pick up. So we don't necessarily have to go to the post office and stand in line. There are options for us not to have to go out into the community to conduct business.
Great.
I will also add in there too, and I'm sure this is available across a lot of the platforms. You can, depending on what you're selling, a lot of people are obviously experimenting with new products to sell. So you can also be selling digital goods, whether that is online classes or tutorials or books, and then the items doesn't even have to be shipped out, but they can just be downloaded or sent to your customer.
And something that Harpreet touched on there as well was the possibility of drop shipping. So you may have a web store where you don't actually produce the products, you're not physically shipping them out, but you are representing those products from somewhere else in the world, selling them through your store and collecting a commission, as it were, from them. So that's another option as well for keeping your e-commerce alive, even when you're not actually producing.
Great. So any other questions that either any panelists would like to address here before we're approaching the 1 hour mark? So wary of your time as well.
I can just, Maria's question there about getting the best, so how do you get the lowest price shipping rates? What you can do is connect with Canada Post, and you can actually get negotiated rates from them. And if you're using Shopify and you get the negotiated rates through us, if you have better rates negotiated with Canada Post, you can connect your Canada Post account to your Shopify store and have those display there instead. And I'm sure that like FedEx, for example, have the same kind of deal where you can get an account with them and get negotiated prices.
Okay, well, that's fantastic. So thank you for everybody for joining us. Thank you to Amanda, Harpreet, Glenn, and Tanya for sharing your time and expertise. As I mentioned at the beginning, we will work to answer any outstanding questions when we load this presentation onto our website. Sessions for the future are currently being planned. We do have a few that are lined up but not confirmed at this time. But that is all we have, unless Jeremy has anything to chime in.
No, not at all, Shannon, but thank you very much, everyone, and thanks for tuning in, and thank you for all the fantastic questions.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.